We want to welcome you all into the 21st episode of Trojan Talk. I'm Zach Duranko here with Jeff Christianberry and Cole Purvis. How you guys doing this morning?
Great.
That's good. We got a nice Wednesday here, almost April break, but got to talk some TA sports real quick. We have our TA TV schedule out for boys and girls lacrosse. Our first boys lacrosse game will be on 4/27, which I think is the Tuesday back from April break versus Portland at home, and the girls game will be on 4/29, which is versus Noble. So getting closer and closer. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to get lacrosse back in. I know both teams looking good this year. And just before we go to the professional side of sports, I want to ask you a question. Do you guys have a favorite spring sports moment of TA from the past, few years or whenever, of lacrosse, baseball, something like that?
I'll go way back, and this is because I was just involved in it, and it was when I was in high school. This was many years ago. I was the manager of the baseball team my senior year. And Mr. Parody, who's a dean here, was the coach, and had some really fun times. The team was good. Not, we didn't win a state championship or anything, but we played at Hadlock Field against Portland. Portland at that time was really good. And Keel Martin, Mr. Martin, who's a wellness teacher here at TA, graduated the same year I did, was a great baseball player. And he hit the ball off the very top of the Green Monster, which I think the Green Monster was just new that year in Portland. And he hit it right off the top. We all thought it was a home run, and he hit it off the top. He ended up getting a double. We ended up losing the game pretty horribly in the last inning. But anyway, that was just a fun moment because that would have been like an all-time home run for him. But recently, probably when boys lacrosse won states, they had some epic games against Falmouth there in the state championship game, and it was nice to see that program finally get over the top and win one, and then they won two.
Yeah, Cole?
I would say the state championship in 2019 for lacrosse. I was just I hadn't watched a ton of lacrosse until then, and I went to the game, and that was really cool to see them win a state championship, and it really got the community into the lacrosse program, and now it's become pretty popular today. And then last year as well, going to the state baseball game. It's always cool at St. Joe's, and hopefully they can get back there this year, although they didn't win. But it's just great that we have spring sports back. We've had a lot of scrimmages, but I think every team is ready to really get going to the regular season and play some real games.
Lacrosse has been going all over the place. Yesterday I went to Messalonsky, which is up in Oakland, Maine. So I mean they've done pretty well in their results in the preseason. So it should be interesting. One thing I do want to bring up too, kind of a late breaking high school sports story. So I want to drop it on you guys, see what you think. Is high school football. There was a story yesterday in the Press Herald about they're going to change the schedule, the way they schedule games to try to get rid of some of these lopsided games. So what's going to happen in Class A is there'll be a 9-game schedule like always, but one of the games, instead of being 2 games against Class B schools, there's going to be 1 game against a New Hampshire school of equal of comparable size and skill. Now, those have happened in the past once in a while, and certainly for scrimmages, but this is the first time that they're going to count. Like, they're going to count in the Crabtree standings, and basically heel points for football. And I heard a little bit of rumblings of this from Coach Kiesel a couple weeks ago about they were looking at it. This is something that was actually proposed 3 or 4 years ago by Coach Cooper of Bonnie Eagle about these you put teams in pods. So, yes, you have a Class A, but you have a 4-team Class A or a pod of 4 teams, and they kind of play maybe 1 or 2 of the top teams in Class B depending on not just size of their school but skill level. So it looks like it's going to pass. It was presented yesterday at the MPA Football Committee, I think it's what's called. Hasn't been official yet, but it looks like it's going to happen. If so, what do you think about that? Some of the bigger schools by size, Edward Little, Deering, those kind of schools, not playing the bigger schools, instead of playing a New Hampshire team. And for us, I think we'll play some pretty big schools in New Hampshire. What would you think about that if that happened?
I think it would be good for TA. I mean, I know next year is going to be. I don't think anyone's really sure what's going to happen because missing 20 to 25 seniors who were all really important to this team, and the thing that gets me the most is that O-line, that D-line, which is basically it was all seniors last year. So. It's gonna be tough. I think it's good for TA. I don't think we've had a season here in the last 5 years where I've said, "Wow, this is gonna be really hard. Like we're gonna have to work really hard this season." So I'm excited, but I'm not even sure who the good New Hampshire teams are. I know we played Pinkerton last year as a preseason game, and they were pretty good. So.
I'm trying to remember. I think Coach Kiesel mentioned what teams they were looking at. It wasn't Pinkerton for the regular season game, but because Pinkerton's a huge school, they're bigger than us. Football wise, they're pretty good too. I forget the exact name. There are some really big schools. I mean, you have places like Manchester, New Hampshire, which are massive schools. We probably won't play someone like that, but someone. I'll think about it. By the time next time we do an episode, we'll have some answers on that. But what do you think, Cole?
I mean, when you look at the schedule early in the season, you can pick out like 1 or 2 games that are going to be competitive. But if you have competitive games consistently, that just makes everything better. It's a bigger challenge for the team and for the fans to see some close games, not all these blowouts. Because let's be honest, I think TA's closest game was 8 points at Oxford Hills last season. So that's awesome just to play Class B teams, New Hampshire teams. I remember Marshwood a couple years ago. They played Marshwood, who's in Class B, and that was a really competitive game. I just want to bring those back. Those were some great games. So I would be strongly in favor of that.
It's just be interesting. You fast forward 5 years even in high school football in Maine. Like, what's it going to look like? I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, thank God Cheverus, they've been politely. I think they're saying that they chose to go back to class to 11-man football, but I think that was a little push because they were just killing teams in 8-man. For a school of that size, they should be in 11-man, and they are going to be in Class C next year.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting, and it's not anything bad, which I think is a great part of that. So, something to be excited for next year. But now we're going to move on to the professional side. We'll start with the Celtics. I am sporting my Jason Tatum Celtics jersey because they've been the most surprising and positive thing about Boston sports.
But then when I pick them, they lose.
Yeah, when you pick them, yeah. So,
they won every game this week except for the one you picked them.
So they're going to play the Nets in the 2-7 matchup. The Nets beat the Cavs last night. I know that the score at halftime was almost 20 points, and it was only about a 7-point win. So, it doesn't really matter. I don't think the Cavs are going to win that one anyways. But the Nets coming in, not many injuries left. Ben Simmons, I know, isn't going to play, but what do you guys think about this matchup? Do you think the Celtics? I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the Nets are going to make it. The Nets are so good," but I think the Celtics are good enough even without Robert Williams. What do you guys think? Give me your series pick.
I'm amped. I'm going to the game.
Yep.
I bought tickets about 2 weeks ago, just as a generic going to game 1 of the Celtics first round, and at that point they were the number 1 seed. I think it was like the one time they were number 1 or tied for number 1. So it really could have been anybody. And as it got closer, it's like, okay, wow, they could actually be the 2 seed, and the Nets could come in. Like, I don't really. I mean, going to the game would be fun, but I don't want to see Cleveland or the Bulls. Everyone's saying, no, the Bulls, they stink right now, so it'd be an easy win. It's like, yeah, but I want to see a good game. I think the Nets is the dream matchup. I understand the whole theory of, well, you want to avoid them because they could beat you, but then it's like if you really think they're a championship team, then they shouldn't matter. They should be able to roll through, not roll through, but beat everybody in front of them. So I think it's going to be a great series. All that said, I'd take the Nets in 6.
Really?
I think honestly, I think Robert Williams is going to be a huge factor because you have Durant and Kyrie who like to go to the bucket, and you have I love what's this? I'm going to forget his name. Not Whiteside. Who's the big? Oh, Drummond. I think he's good player. And last night he showed against the Nets. And that game was 20. It was never really in doubt. The Nets kind of
Kyrie didn't miss a shot in the first half.
Yeah. No. So they basically kind of coasted that win. But I just think I don't know. I mean, I definitely could see the Celtics winning. I don't think it's going to be a sweep or a 5-game series either way. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7-game series. And I just think the Nets. I mean, just think this is the Nets. This is the two of the best players in the NBA. And if the Celtics go out and beat them. We all think, they should because they've had a great season. But, this is, an all-time – should be an all-time on paper great team, the Nets. And they haven't played that way. And it'd be a huge disappointment for them to lose. And it'd be a huge stain on the careers of Kyrie and Kevin Durant. You can't just put that out of your mind because they haven't played well this year. So if the Celtics win, great. They deserve it. But I'm taking Nets in 6.
I can't bet against Kevin Durant in the playoffs,
you aren't believers. Come on.
Marcus Smart is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and he leads a great Celtics defense. But Kevin Durant can rise up over anybody and get a mid-range shot whenever he wants to. And I've been impressed with his leadership. He said some stuff in an interview last night. We have to respect our opponents, and he doesn't always do that. He gets into it with the fans a lot, but it looks like he's in a good spot here heading into this first round. And Kyrie, I think Kyrie might struggle in the Garden the first couple of games, but if he gets going and like last night didn't miss a shot for a while, he had 37 points, I think. That'll be scary with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. So my prediction, Nets in 7, which would be a huge disappointment for the Celtics, who have really turned it on and got the 2 seed.
I think it goes Celtics win the first one. Kyrie struggles. Kyrie comes back, has a great game in 2 in the Garden, and the Nets win games 2, 3, 4. Celtics win a game 5 back at home. And then the Nets close it out in 6.
But don't bet against Kevin Durant. We'll come back to this in 1
and don't
or 2
bet with
weeks.
Cole. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
You guys are crazy. I got Celtics in 5, and here's my
Celtics in 5.
So listen. So I went to a Celtics Nets game in March, and everybody was healthy. Everybody played. Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, everybody, and that was Tatum's 54-point game. But my thing is that Kevin Durant had 40 points. Kyrie had over 20. And the Nets, every time Kevin Durant went for a fadeaway, he got a foul call. And they still lost the game. The Celtics dominated. Now, yes, Robert Williams in that game. But I think the Celtics overall are better than the Nets. And if I'm the Nets, I can't put it all on Kyrie and Kevin Durant because you need to have other players. Because for the Celtics, it's not just Brown and Tatum. You've got Marcus Smart. You've got Payne Pritchard, who's been stepping up. You've got Derek White and Daniel Tice. And on the other side, where's Seth Curry been? Andre Drummond is okay, but I think the Celtics in 5. I think they're going to shock everybody. The Nets aren't going to play very well. And you guys are crazy. Like, here
comes Ben Simmons. You watch. Ben Simmons is going to come to the rescue.
They ruled him out.
They have good role players, though. But I think you can put the game on Kevin Durant's shoulders and win. He's that good.
The key thing in your little rant right there was you saw it in March, and that is not playoff time. This is playoff time.
Yeah.
It's play like a playoff game.
Kyrie
I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if the Celtics won the series. I would be shocked if they won it in 5.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to it when they win in 5.
After this, but next time we do one of these, it'll be after this round. So.
Here's what I heard, though, this morning was that the spacing of the games, Game 1, so Game 1 is Sunday. Then there's 2 days between Game 1 and Game 2. Then there's 2 days between Games 2 and 3, and then 2 games between 3 and 4.
Perfect for Durant.
And perfect for Robert Williams. Now
he's not coming back.
That's a stretch.
That's the thing that I don't really like about the NBA playoffs, though. It drags on.
Yeah.
You're right,
crazy.
But that is if Robert Williams can get on the early side of that return.
What do you think he's going to be like when he comes back after not doing anything for 6 weeks? It's not like he's going to come back and be like, "Oh, I'm totally fine."
Okay, you guys have to believe. You have to believe.
We'll mark this down.
Nets in 7.
So I got a question for you guys now, since we're talking about the NBA. If you were the NBA commissioner, which is Adam Silver, right? I can't remember. Would you change or take away the play-in tournament? Now, I know we all don't really like the play-in tournament, but thinking about it from the NBA side, as the commissioner, would you change it or take it away?
I'll keep it simple. I'll take it away. I think it's stupid. It's a way for more TV money. Are the games compelling? Yes, they can be compelling because some teams are playing for but 3 of the teams that play in that first day are not playing for their playoff lives because if they lose, they get to play another one. So, not worried.
Yeah, I think it's soft. I've already said this on this podcast that it's not fair for these 7 and 8 seeds who have earned the right to get in by making a late season push to now have to prove it again and play. It was painful as a Warriors fan last year. They got the 8 seed and then they missed the playoffs. That was really bad. But and then also a 10 seed who's 10 games below 500 shouldn't be able to make the playoffs. We've talked about this, but a lot of money comes in because last night you have guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie playing in the play-in. Last year, LeBron, Steph Curry. So it definitely makes a lot of money, and I can see from the commissioner's perspective why they want it, but I would take it away.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it should be taken away. I don't think it's very enjoyable. I don't think that. I don't think it's fair. Like the 7 and 8 seeds are just being. They shouldn't have to play a game. They deserved it 1 through 8. But it's for the money. It's for extra games to get more people involved. And
we'll see after 4 or 5 years in how many 9 and 10 seeds actually make it and do anything in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on quickly to the Red Sox. The MLB started the last few days.
Well, actually, hold on. We're gonna have a special guest here for the rest of the special podcast. For the first time since we started this,
that's right.
Mr. Pulsifer is gonna come in and finish off for me. So let's bring in Mr. P right now.
We want to welcome in our special guest, Mr. Pulsifer here, the co-general manager of TATV. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Cole, I think, is doing great as well. We have some Bruins talk here. Last night, an unfortunate loss. They could have clinched a playoff berth, but they lose 4-2 to the Blues, and yet another injury to Brandon Carlo. And right now, with less than 10 games in the season, they've got a lot of injuries. They're sitting between this we could move higher, we could move lower. So I first want to ask you, do you think that the Bruins should sit their injured players or bring them back to get that higher seeding?
Well, I mean, I think they've locked up a playoff spot, with one of the wild cards. They're obviously not going to win the Atlantic at this point. They dropped to 4th in the Atlantic last night after their, tough loss last night.
Yep.
So I would say at this point, it's like you want to get prepared for the playoffs, but then at the same time, it's like, do you want to, take a chance, losing any momentum that had been really built up over the winter. I mean, these last, 5 or 6 games, it's kind of been wishy-washy, back and forth. It's like a win, okay, now a loss, and now they're starting to pile up losses. And again, losses obviously piling up with injuries. Their lines are all mixed up. They're doing their best trying to balance it. But again, right now you can tell they're just a depleted team. And then the goaltending situation, that's a whole nother situation. I know that I'm sure you can talk about with your boy Swayman. But, Allmark sometimes is great, but then all of a sudden he's not, and then obviously Swayman is hot and cold, so they got to get that figured out here with 10 games to go.
Yep. My next question for you is, looking into the playoffs right now, it looks like as the wild card 1 or maybe the wild card 2, it's either going to be Florida or Carolina. Two great teams, and I want to get your thoughts. Let's just say we play Carolina because that looks like it's going to be right now. Do you think we have a chance? Let's say everyone's healthy, Pastrnak, all the defense, but do you think we have a chance in that series?
If everyone's back, yes, they absolutely have a chance. And not only a chance in that series, I think they have a chance in the Eastern Conference. Will they be able to win it all? I don't know if they have honestly the goaltending this year to do that. I think Swayman's a year off. I think this year has been a great development year for him. We've obviously seen, kind of like what a lot of young players have, is they have some great stretches. And then they have some questionable stretches. And so I think this has been a great learning year for him. On the other side of that, though, it's like, while it's a learning year for Swayman, you have some veterans here who I don't know how much longer this core nucleus can stay together. And it's like, do you want to, mortgage the future, so to speak, to win now, or do we want to keep development? I mean, you saw at the trade deadline when we got Lindholm there, we signed him to an 8-year deal. Obviously, they're saying, look, we got to make a better defensive pairing with McAvoy. I mean, they got McAvoy, you got Lindholm, and then not a lot else after that. And now with Lindholm out, he's injured too as part of this whole injury bug we've got. You're kind of seeing that really start to take effect. So the Bruins in the offseason at least have got to figure out the defensive pairings. And again, this offseason postseason, it may not be enough time to figure it all out.
Yeah, that point you made is great. I think out of anybody on this team, I think may not be ready for that kind of playoff hockey, it's the goalies. I mean, Olmark has been playing with the Sabres his whole career, hasn't really been in a playoff situation, and Swayman didn't have much time. I think he played 1 or 2 games in last year. So not a lot of experience. And then the last question for the Bruins here is, they've been messing around with that third defensive pairing, Derek Forbort, Mike Riley, Connor Clifton, and Josh Brown. If, let's say everyone's back, so it'll be Lindholm, McAvoy on that first pairing and Grzelcyk and Carlo on the second, who do you think would be the perfect pairing for the playoffs for that Bruins?
Boy, I watched a little bit of the game last night, and I kind of like Brown. He's a good mid-season acquisition here. So I would say stick with Clifton and Brown at this point. Let them form some chemistry here over the last 9-10 games of the season. See what happens. I still think there's enough time left to develop some type of chemistry, some type of flow with that top 6 defensive defenseman. But again, at the same time, if games continue to go as they're going, where it's like win, lose. I think Cassie's going to have to figure out, like, is this a good pairing, and do we have to mix things up? Again, might be, I don't know, maybe you could speak to this a little bit more, Zach. Maybe it's a college edition signing here real quick that we sneak into the top 6.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that when it comes to the playoffs, I want a guy like Brown, as you said, because we need those big bodies. I know we tried that before with Jared Tenorti. He's like 6'8", like 240, but he couldn't stick handle the puck, and that's not something we need in the playoffs. But Brown has been playing well, and the one good thing from these injuries is that these guys are getting more time. They're Cassie's saying, you have to play 20 minutes in this game. We need you, so you got to show up. And so they're having to show Cassie what they can do. And so, it's getting closer. I don't know what the plan right now is. 10 games left. What do you do? Do you sit them? Do you play them? I mean, they are still 1 point behind Tampa. They could come back, but do you bring Lindholm back a game too early? Do you bring Pastrnak back a game too early? You just don't know.
I think with it locked up right now, and honestly what you've seen in the Eastern Conference is the Bruins, when healthy, can play with anyone.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if I was Cassie and I was Don Sweeney in the Bruins organization, I would say, you know what, we just got to get healthy. We're getting ready for the stretch run here. We're not going to mortgage one game, which again, we might even be able to win based on the NHL this year. It's been a lot of back and forth. I would say let's get ready for the playoffs. Yeah. To relate it to an NBA reference, it's almost like the Nets here, the Brooklyn Nets, where it's like they rested guys throughout the year, and it's like now they just got into the play-in game. They won that last night, and now obviously they're going to gear up for the Celtics series starting on Sunday. We'll see what happens with them too. They're a great case study in terms of do we rest people and just get ready for the postseason and say once we're ready we can do it, or are they going to just not have enough chemistry in order to advance? Yeah, there's a lot of questions, but we're going to have to wait for the next few games, see what they do, see who comes back. And we'll talk now about the Boston Red Sox, who, got a shaky start. I think they're 2-3 right now, had a couple of quick games at the beginning of the season to the Yankees, and they didn't play well in that series. So I want to ask you guys both, do you think that the Red Sox are just at the short end of the stick here, with Toronto being a really good team, the Yankees playing well, just not having a good team, or do you think it's an early season slump? We'll start with you, Cole.
Yeah, I think they'll finish third in the division. The Blue Jays have a flashy roster, one of the flashiest in all of baseball, with Bichette and Guerrero, and the Yankees winning 2 out of 3. I thought they might have swept them. But the Red Sox, you got to beat teams like the Tigers, who aren't supposed to be very good. But at the same time, it's game number 5 of 162.
Yep.
And Trevor Story's not back, so I think when he comes back, that'll make a huge difference in their lineup and give them some firepower offensively, which they haven't had. They had to come back yesterday. They were down 3-0, and they won 5-3. You just got to grind your way through the season, and that's what they did yesterday.
Yep. Josh?
I think one of the good early season successes for the Red Sox has been their bullpen. I didn't think that was going to be a strength at all coming into this season. And, over the first 6 games, while, yes, they've had some losses, I think Garrett Whitlock, who they just signed to a 4-year extension, that was a steal picking him up from the Yankees in the Rule 5 draft a year ago or 2 years ago at this point. So I think there's a lot of potential here. I think their offense, and again, they haven't even played a home game yet. Think about that. They've been on the road since March, since spring training. They have not even played a game at Fenway yet. So I think, if I'm the Red Sox and I'm Alex Cora, they're just trying to weather this early season storm. Let's get home. Let's open it up. And they always play great at Fenway.
Yeah.
Picking up Story. He's got a perfect swing for left field at Fenway. He's going to pull the ball. He's going to have a ton of doubles this year. He might lead the league in doubles once he gets going.
Yeah.
So again, I think they're going to be just fine. I'm not too worried about April baseball. Like Cole said, it's only 5-6 games into the year. They're going to be fine.
Yeah. As you said, lots of games left. I want to thank Josh Pulser for coming in as our special guest, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Anytime.
All right. We want to, again, thank Josh Pulser for coming in as our special guest. And now we get to the Pick the Winners. It's our 3rd week. And we'll start off with giving Cole congratulations for going 0-6 last week. Yeah, great job.
I've had a rough month.
We all haven't done that great, but that was bad.
I picked Kentucky and Iowa in March Madness
it started with that.
championship. One day into the tournament, they're both out. It's just my luck.
Yeah.
It is.
Really quick note, sorry, about Iowa. Did you see Cooper Flagg's got an
Yes,
offer
I
from
did see
Iowa?
that. Yeah.
Crazy.
So we'll start with the standings. Right now I'm in first, 6-4. You are in second with 5-5, and Cole again 1-9 in last place. So we
can't be any worse, I guess.
We've got 5 games.
Which one did you get right so far? What happened to that game?
It was actually an NHL game.
Oh, the game was fixed.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we got a lot of NBA this week because of the playoffs. We'll start off with 2 less exciting games, but they're pretty close, so I want you to get your thoughts. We'll start with the Hornets, the 10 seed, at the Hawks tonight in the play-in game.
Hornets, Hawks. I'm going Hawks.
Hawks?
Yeah.
Me too, Hawks. I would just like to say I picked the Celtics twice, and they've lost both times, so it's the Celtics' fault.
Okay, so I think we're all going Hawks there. I'll agree.
Yeah.
And then the other 9-10 game, the Spurs at the Pelicans tonight.
Give me the Spurs. They've been playing well.
All right.
I'm going to have to go with the Spurs too because they're really hot right now.
See, I found that I usually win games when I pick against you guys, so I'm going to go Pelicans in that one.
Gotcha.
And then we got the only hockey game of this week. We got the Penguins at the Bruins. It's a Saturday matinee primetime game. The Bruins dealing with some injuries, could have some players back. Again, Cole, your only win was a hockey game, so maybe you'll get this one right.
I'm going Bruins. I'm going 3-0.
Wait, who are they playing?
They're playing the Penguins.
Oh, Penguins. Give me the Penguins all day. Even though Evgeny Malkin is suspended.
I'm going to go.
Hear that on the news?
He's not going to play because it's 4 games.
That's okay.
All right, so I'm going to go Bruins as well. Then we have our first 2 real playoff games, I would say. We got the game 1 between the number 4 76ers and the number 5 Raptors. It'll be at Philadelphia.
Philly. I think Philly's going to sweep the Raptors.
Me too.
All right. Yeah, I got to go Philadelphia as well. I just don't think that the Raptors are ready for that. And then our last one of this week is the game 1 between the number 5 Jazz and number 4 Mavericks. That's a hard one.
I'm going to go Jazz.
Mavs.
I'm going to go Jazz as well because I just feel like they're more ready than the Mavericks are.
Just even though it won't count, I have 2 that aren't going to count for us. So what about Celtics-Nets? I'm going Celtics game 1 even though I think they're going to lose the series.
Me too. Celtics game 1.
Yeah.
He's going to think they're going to basically sweep him. So.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have that energy, that Boston energy. You know what I mean?
Another one, again, we won't count because it's soccer, but Man City Liverpool playing again this week. This time it can't be a draw. It's in the FA Cup semifinal. I'm going with Liverpool, but we don't have to pick it. But big match again. The team had an amazing game last Saturday or Sunday. 2-2 it was a draw, so it was one of those exciting draws. They play again this Saturday in a Cup semifinal.
I got Man City. I just
of course you do.
I gotta go against you. Yeah, that's fine. That's what I do. Well, it's got me to first place. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So far, we'll see next week.
Well, that's going to do it for the 21st episode of Trojan Talk. I just want to thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next week.